Rain can mean many things. Sadness, floods, new beginnings. But for ant keepers, it's a sign that ant flights are coming. It's been a while since my last actual ant update, and the anting season has begun. So today, I'm going over some of the queens that have not been shown on this channel yet. This won't be my normal style of video, but I'd like to try some different video types, so comment down below what you thought. This is a quick overview on the queens. The Notonkus queens were flying everywhere one day, and the queens had very pretty colours, so I collected a few. However, two of them died, leaving only one, but she now has larvae. I showed the Femerata last video, but I caught them before their flight, so they were infertile. I randomly spotted this queen while going about my day, and it turns out she was a species of Pseudonotonkus. Unfortunately, she was infertile and died shortly after. Luckily, I caught this species of Polyrachis after their flight, and they were fertile. Two of them survived and currently have healthy brood. I also was caught in a big Kerbara flight on a tree, so I caught a few from that. I also found this different species of Kerbara. This is Hope's colony before I fed them a poison cricket, which killed her workers. There are a few hiding in the cotton in this video. However, more on a different colony later on. And now for the rarer species. These species are mostly just uncommon, but you might have encountered them as they do have large flights. I found this Anonica murmur queen on the same day as the next species, just randomly while I was walking. It was a pretty cool find considering her pretty comparable size and beautiful red head and body. She has already laid, and I hope to make a video on her sometime. This uncommon Fogatella queen I found alongside the Anonica murmur. There were actually two, but I only had the space for one. I'm hoping her colony will go strong, as I've seen very pretty Fogatella in the wild. This species is a cryptic ant, meaning they are very small and live primarily underground, rarely coming in contact with people, so it was a cool find. Papyrus is a parasitic ant species, and they took over Iridomyrmex nests. However, I had no Iridomyrmex colonies at this time to give them, so they quickly died off. This beautiful queen is the red-legged green-headed ant. She is bigger than Metallica and has a bright red coloration. But this species is even more interesting, sporting bright blue shining body colors, and in this case, purple. She also has bright red legs, around the same size as Metallica. Then this queen is the gatekeeper ant, known for their funny flat heads. They have abundant flights, and I snagged this one in the morning after a night flight. Now for a bit more on each queen. This is my Iridomyrmex colony. They are the most common ant genera in all of Australia. They grow the fastest, are the hardiest, and queens are present all over on basically every single hot day in Australia. Many new ant keepers misidentify this genus as Bignelli, although that is not entirely true, as most species are not. This species is claustral, meaning the queen does not need food during the founding stage, and once they get to workers, the protein just helps them grow faster and produce more brood. They are generally the most easy beginner species, and are generally not worth anything in the ant market, due to their abundance and ease of care. This is my queen of the Polyrhacus spiny ant subgenus Cariomerma. They are commonly referred to as golden-tailed spiny ants. These ants are referred to by subgenus instead of species because of the difficulty in differentiating between the specific species, as they do look quite similar. They are very common, although not often kept into established colonies by many ant keepers, as the speed of their brood development is extremely slow. But comment down below if you do want me to keep this queen. The golden-tailed spiny ant has very pretty golden hairs on its abdomen that give it the color. However, they have only small, slowly growing batches of workers, which are not usually worth the time that it takes to have them. However, this species is exceedingly easy to keep for a semi-claustral queen. They eat only small quantities, and from my experience, can raise workers even without a proper protein supply. They also eat only small portions of honey, so do not need to be fed very often, and are happy to stay in the dark over long periods of time to raise their brood. They are pretty good for beginners in my opinion, because of their hardiness and slow demand, although patience is very important with this species, which can be difficult for new ant keepers, especially with only a single colony. And this is Hope. As you know by now, I released her because I made a mistake by feeding her a cricket with pesticides. However, I did decide to catch another random Nylanderia colony and raise it to workers for fun, so they made it into this video. It was their first time on camera, so they were pretty skittish, but they are genuinely a slow species, so it was fine to film them. These guys may not be the most interesting to keep, as they are less active and grow slower than Iridomyrmex. However, it's always fun to have a queen ant around, and they are often seen flying, which is pretty cool. In fact, while recording my last video, a few of these queens actually landed on my laptop screen while I was working. Next is my Rhytidoponera metallica queen. I caught quite a few of them in the recent nuptial flight, but ended up giving them away or not catching them at all, as I wasn't really interested in keeping the species. However, my friend has a very established colony of green-headed ants, over a year old and raised from a single hand-caught queen as well. This is the room where the larvae spins cocoons. On the right, you can see a larvae partially covered in substrate, which helps it pupate successfully. One worker is also holding a very large pile of eggs in his mandibles. I was very excited to see such a large and impressive colony of ants, and now you guys can witness them as well. We were also lucky enough to spot the queen inside the nest. I actually caught this next queen at a tennis court on a hot day early spring. She has been pretty slow growing because of the limited protein that she's accepting, but the larvae are quite healthy. They're supposed to be claustral, but apparently grow faster if you do feed them, which is what I have done. Their workers are similar to Irida myrmex, but larger and bulkier, sporting bright coloration. I'm quite excited to see how this queen's workers turn out. They are very relaxed, although the queen refuses to move out of the test tube even though there is no water left. So I've left her tube connected to another one with water in case she decides to go looking. This is a small species of Pseudonotonchus. I caught her randomly on the same day as the Notonchus, but I believe she hadn't flown yet, as she did not lay and died soon after. They are uncommon, and named as fake Notonchus because they look so similar, but are not the same genus. I was pretty excited to find this girl, and it was unfortunate that she ended up being infertile. We unfortunately did not get to raise a colony with this queen, but I hope I can possibly find another in the same location next season, as it would be a very interesting colony to raise. This is the southern broad-nosed spiny ant. Known for their unique pale legs, I was excited to keep a colony of them as well. However, all 5 of them turned out to be infertile, unfortunately. However, the Polyrhacus frine queens we also caught along the side of the Femerata were much more successful. We caught 5 queens, but while we were too early for the Femerata, we were just in time for these girls. Two of the 5 survived, and both queens now have healthy brood. This one is fat larvae, and the other has a cocoon and a few smaller larvae. They are very beautiful ants, and I can't wait to raise a colony with them. This is my Kerbara queen. I caught her in a large flight of many queens. Ant keepers do not often raise these queens due to difficulties in the founding stage, but I hope I can raise her to an established colony. She is very cute, and the smallest species I currently own. Her workers will be small and yellow, but this species also has majors, which is very exciting. Their queens are tiny and have brown colors with a yellow tinged gaster and yellow legs. I can't wait to raise a colony with her, and she is almost at workers already. And now for the next batch of queens. This is a species of Anonica murmur. The workers are similar to Iridomyrmex in appearance, but their queens vary dramatically. This genus is usually arboreal, meaning they live in trees, which could mean some cool tree-themed artwork for these guys in the future. The queen is pretty sizable and has pretty colors, so I can't wait to raise her. I'll most likely give away this queen later, in favor of queens with more interesting workers, although I would like to at least give them a head start in founding, and maybe a cool setup. This queen was caught alongside the Anonicomania, and at first I mistook her for one. However, this is a cute species called the common foglet ant. I've actually seen these guys in my last episode, but never did I expect to catch a queen. This is probably the queen which I'm most excited to raise. I've never seen a large captive colony of these girls before, so I plan to be the first. They aren't particularly rare, but are often mistaken for other species. I had to reuse my limited footage, as I didn't want to disturb her. She was caught very recently. This queen is of the genus Papyrus, parasitic ant genus that takes over small Iridomyrmex colonies. They are uncommon and difficult to raise in captivity, and I did not have any small Iridomyrmex colonies at the time of catching these queens, so they died off. It would be a very cool challenge to raise these guys from scratch, although extremely difficult. Maybe in a future video, we will attempt at raising them to workers. This is my Rhytidoplanera Chalobay queen. It is a beautiful purple morph of the usually blue ant, and has vibrant red legs to contrast. She is my most pretty queen at the moment, and although I didn't want to raise a Rhytidoplanera colony at first, she is so special that I do want to raise her to workers at least. I caught this queen at a camp far away, and it was a very exciting find. However, I might look to trade her for once she has workers for a colony of meat ants, which I have wanted to raise for a long time on this channel. But until then, we will document every step of the way with this beautiful queen. Alongside her, I also caught this Rhytidoplanera queen out of a rock pool where she was drowning. I did get stung in the process, and unfortunately, she only survived a few more days before dying. I'm not sure if it wasn't because I put substrate which they need, or because she was already dying from the water. It was very unfortunate to see such a special queen die, but we may have more opportunities later. This queen on the same day as the previous two, a species of acrobat ant. As you can see, she does love climbing around the trees, as they are an arboreal species. I actually originally thought this queen would be versatile, as it looked like she was trying to find a place up high to fly from, but it turns out they just like nesting in high places. And considering how fast this girl lives, and that her eggs are neatly clumped together, hoping that she is indeed fertile and will raise a successful colony. After my Corona moment, I've developed an affinity for arboreal species, and I can't wait to see what setup we can house this colony in. But this final queen might be my favorite of all. a beautiful gatekeeper ant queen. They have large, abundant nuptial flights, and I managed to catch her in the morning after a night flight. They're called gatekeeper ants because they use their funny flat heads to block the nest entrances, which are made in trees as they are an arboreal species as well. I was very excited to raise them as I could raise the insane looking mages with massive blocking heads. However, although they are common, they are very difficult to found and there are rarely captive established colonies of this species. Comment down below whether you want more frequent of this less edited style.